tell you about the programming language and all those things, right? So for the basic definition, when we see of the programming language, it is in the kind of books you read. Is the kind of syntax or conditions or instructions what we give to the machine to understand our language, right? So, not going with the bookish language, when we'll try to understand what is programming language, we'll say that programming language is a kind of language which help us to communicate with our machines. All right, that's the basic one, right? So there are many various type of languages here in the programming sections, and we'll be learning Python from it. Okay. So Python is a high-level interpreted object-oriented programming language which has like garnered the worldwide attraction now. And according to the Stack Overflow, it has been found that the most person and the most programmers, you can say, use this Python around 38.8% for their projects and all those things, right? So Python has been taking a lot of space in this current era to work on. And in simple words, we can say that Python is a high-level dynamic programming language which is interpreted, and it was, you can say, developed by the father Van Rossum, all right, and it is now in working as the world's best or like in the first or second language managed by all the programming or followed by all the programming languages we have. Okay, that is we get there, right? So we'll be learning Python, but before that, we'll see that where to start from, right? So where to start from this Python solve. Let me get to. So if I see, so today we'll be just focusing on what is the Python, why is this Python popular, what are the features of Python, where is this Python is used in the industries, what are the learning path, how you can start with, what are the career opportunities you have in the Python, right? So as I said, Python is a general purpose interpreted language with very easy syntax and dynamic semantics, right? So you don't have to declare any kind of data types and all those things to work on, right? And it was created in 1989 by Van Rossumson, right? So why is this popular? Because there are some of the features which Python is having to make its popularity, right? So the first one is that as it is the language which is preferred by the most beginners and the pros, like we have the professionals. Okay, so it is most preferred by the beginners as well as the professionals, and it is an open source language. We sometimes say it as a kind of a floss. The floss sometimes is preferred as a free library open source software. Okay, so that is floss. If someone asks you, like many times you would be seeing there that what is floss? FOLSS. What I said, that's a stand for free, library, open source, and software. Okay, so this is an open source software you are getting here, and this makes it useful for everyone, right? Similarly, this Python is popular because this can be used in mobiles, this can be used in desktop, this can be used in the web applications, or many places are there where you can work on with this, and it is compatible with any of the operating system like for the Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and anything, right? And the fourth reason you can say why Python is popular, because it is having a vast community, right? Every programming language is having its own community centers, right? Own community supports. So the better the community support, the better the languages, right? Or the better the popularity of the languages. So it is having a huge community which constantly make libraries and help those things to work on for you. Okay. So there you get with the popularity. Now we'll see what are the features of this. Okay, so I'll be going with one by one to its features. So first let's come to see all its one. We'll see. So simplicity. Okay, the features of Python. So simplicity is like you think less of the syntax and of much of the language, and that makes your code as a powerful code, right? So you don't need to think on much of the things like for the areas of how much area it should take or how much space it should take. So you only need to think of for your codes and nothing else, not for any you can say for the spacing things, and that's all right. So that is simplicity, because it's very simple to work on that only to work on the codes. The next is the open source. Open source is a powerful language, you can see, right? So Python is a powerful language which is open, and there are a lot of languages like which are open source, like R is there. There are a lot of languages, right? So powerful language, and it is free for everyone and alter as needed. You can like you can manage your own codes, you can write your own projects with that, right? So that is your open source. Coming to the portability, it states that Python code can be shared or can be worked in the same way like with any of the languages, like that you can make any C program language or C++, C++ or JSON, JavaScript, any of the language convertible to the Python. You can convert from Python language to any other type of the language. You can convert even to the HTML also. So these are the things you can do. Portability are there, right? And these codes can be easily have some snippets of other language, or it can be there to embed something inside any website, or like it can be extensible one. So it is an embedded and extensible. Similarly, this is an interpreted language too, right? As I said, it's an interpreted. So the basic difference of the compiler and interpreted, you all know, right? So the compiler compiles the whole program, or compiler converts the whole code language into the machine language, and then you get the output of that. Okay. So similarly, what happens in this interpreter? In interpreter, every language is converted line by line. Okay, so you don't need to have much focus on those areas. The interpreter is very much well as compared to your compiler based times. Okay. Similarly, this is this Python is having a huge library section where you can work with your data and all those things to make it more like use of your data, whatever you get, right? So you can work with libraries. There are a lot of libraries like some SciPy, Matplotlib, Pandas, NumPy, right? A lot of things are there, scikit-learn and all those things. So it's object oriented. So here objects help breaking down complex real life problems into such that they can be coded and solved as to obtain the solutions. Okay. So these are the features of the Python. Okay. To sum it up, if I sum all these features, I'll be saying that Python is a simple syntax language having a very simple syntax and is readable and have a great community support. Okay, now we'll try to see where this Python are used in these industries of IT sectors. Okay, so this Python is used by the Google for their better search results as provided by the ranking of the websites and much more, right? These are used by the Dropbox for their server and client applications, which are used by the Python. These are used by the most trending company now, that's Netflix. So there is a topic in the machine learning we learn called as clustering. So this company uses this machine learning technique to clusters their users interest based on, like when you come to make an account in Netflix, it asks for you to like get on to add some three of your interested movies, right? And then you can just it gives you a just a block of just a bunch of movies to see you based on your interest. So that is like done in the Python, right? Then the NSA of America, that is your National Security Agency, uses this for cyber security analysis and encryption and decryption of their work using the Pythons. Okay. Then we know about the BitTorrent, that this here the transfer of files go between peers to peers, and that is a normal Python file, right? And at last we see it's NASA there to using some scientific calculations using Python. Okay, so these are some of the sectors I have taken out for the uses of that. Similarly, what are the learning paths is, so where to start with? Well, starting from the basics, we'll try to learn what are variables, what are data types operators, what are array flow and controls, what are the methods of these things, and what are file handling itself, and what are the object oriented, and we'll see some of the practices, and also in the data science we'll go to the NumPy and the Seaborn, Matplotlib on the sections, right? So Python career opportunities is like you can work as a web development part, you can work with the game development, you can go with the big data, web testing, data science, and smart services, right? So as compared to have Java and a Python graph, we can see that Python has been increasing on, and the salary are also based on some of them, right? Like the software developer earns around $71 550 around a year, right? Okay, so these are the salaries, and according to the job trends, we can see in the past year, from the past year, this Python has been increased as now in the top of this language of the around 58 or 48 languages are there in this whole community, whole world there to work on, and we can see 28.73% increase as compared to previous years, and has been a training language in the 2020. Okay, so that is important. And now see, now what are the job trends when you are good at a programming and you are a Python developer? So what are the job trends for you? So Python developer earns around rupees 500k in India, all right? So that is median of your average, around, I'm talking about the average one. So it earns around an average of 500,000, okay, in India. And as compared to US, you will be earning there as $88k, okay. So if you convert these in rupees, so the average salary in India would be 5,10,000 per year. Okay, and in the average, this is talking about the average salary. Okay, and in this USA, you'll be having dollar 177 532. Okay, if you convert this into the your rupee one, so it would be, you're having $117 532, so it would be approximately to some 88 lakhs 5 and that, like that. Okay, so per year, so you'll have a very better package in the foreign countries. Okay, so that depends on various factors. So this is an experience. The more the experience you are having, let's say you are having an experience of as a Python developer for 1 to 4 years, you will be getting a salary of 588k. If you are having an experience of 5 to 9 years, you'll be getting 1 million like in the year. And you're having, let's say, 10 to 20 years of experience, you'll be getting 2 million out there, right? So that depends on the experience, and also it depends upon the location of the area or the area where you are working for, right? So also it depends on the location. Like say that in India, the best location to work for this Python developer and all these things has been Gurgaon. There you get an average pay scale of 734k. Okay, the Bangalore and New Delhi, Pune, and then Mumbai the same, right? In the in the further countries, the outsides, what you see that the California, the New York, Washington, these are having the average salary as $122 per year. Okay, so these are the average salaries. So $122 average salary getting there, $122. That is like for your particularly some instance, right? And that is an that is an instance of like you are getting around 91 lakhs there per year. That is an average one, and the number of jobs this things has been posted on every monthly like 1900 jobs, and you get an around a good job there, right? So you get almost this. So California is giving a very good package of that things. And meanwhile, you also need to have some good skill sets with you. Like if you know with working with some modules or libraries, you can say if you know machine learning also with the help of Python, then you will be getting some points over there, and you'll be having some job assistant job listings over there, like in the 2000 based on 2300 job listings. So if we saw that if anyone knows AWS with the Python, that having an AWS Django works very well. Okay, so these are the things which you can. So how to start is that first of all you need to install your Python. Okay, and then you can install it from any of the thing, right? You can install this Python from this I'll share you a drive link. You can install the Python. Today you see the video, and by today, after the class gets over, you can just install these things and then you can work on. So I'll be sharing this PPT with you so that you can be easy. It will be easy for you to choose this. So we'll be working with an ideally. I'll show you what is an ideally. This is an ideally you can see here in my screen. Okay, the below one here, this below one here you can see it. right? So so an IDE is nothing but an integrated development environment which provides you, like, see, when you want to build a let's say you want to build a PowerPoint, what you do is you just go on to your Microsoft PPT, a PowerPoint, and you start making a presentation, right? So that is when you want to work on the spreadsheet. What you do, you just open your Microsoft Excel and you start working. Similarly, when you want to work with the Python, what is there is official IDE of the Python, which is to be downloaded from the Python itself. That is your IDE. It stands for Integrated Development Environment, and this is an official one. What you get it there, right? And meanwhile, there are some of the editors and the environments. There are some of the companies. There are some of the websites giving you some editors and environments which are very much useful as compared. So we don't use this official one. We use some of the good community editors and environments, like for the Anaconda or let it be PyCharm, right? So we use like that. So you can download your PyCharm and anything you want. Okay. So let's say that this is your ideally when you open this thing. So it will be like, so this looks like this, right? Whatever you saw there in the here, what you saw, right? So this is your, there you just write on the things 2 plus 3, 23, 2 plus 3, you give and enter there, and you will be getting the results from that place, right? So those are easy, right? So you can get just 2 plus 3 is 5. This isn't shell where you write your commands. You write 2 minus 3, you will be getting your results, right? So these are the shell where you get your commands. Okay, so we will be not doing in this. Okay, so we have some better results for this. So we'll be working on Anaconda. One second. Sorry. So we'll be learning on the Anaconda. That is an platform for doing the, and this is also an open source distribution of the Python, right? So it's for Python and R programming languages. Okay. There's another language that is mostly used for these data distribution or data working. You can say that is R, right? So yes. So in Anaconda, you can directly, I'll share you the link where you'll get everything. Meanwhile, if you are working, if you don't want to work with these things, what you can do is you can just, if you don't want to open anything, if you don't want to install anything there, what you can do is you can open your, or you can search for Google Colab, okay, and you can click on this Google Colab. So that can be done in from your mobile phones also. So you can click on this Google Colab and then click on this new notebook. Okay, just wait for a minute there, and it will come there. So this is a kind of a environment, or you can say a notebook provided by the Googles. Okay, so there you can write your codes. So as soon as you come there, this screen comes in front of your mobile, or let's say your PC. What you do is you click on the runtime, change the runtime type, and then change it to TPU. Okay, and let's say with this, and that will be done. Okay, so here this is your section where you will be just writing off your codes, and then you will be running it by clicking this play button. That will run this, or else you can just click shift plus enter to run on this particular shell. All right, you can name your notebook from here, like this is day one and all this. You can just write on there to work with that. Okay, you can do with this thing too. So there is an option you can do with the collabs, or if you download the Anaconda, it will look like this, right? And then you can just launch your Jupyter section or Jupyter notebook. And when you launch this one, it will look like this. Right, one second, let me show you. So when you launch this, it will look like this. Okay, you will not be having these much files. You will be having very less files there because you might not have this Python in your system. So if you download it for the first time, you will not get all these files. You will get some of the files of your folders there, right? So here what you do is you click on this new one, and then you click on this Python 3 to start up. Okay, so when I click this, okay, let me just click on the IBM sessions. So here just you have to do is new and then Python 3, and that will be given as a shell there, right? So you can see similar things here and as well as here. Let me drag this to this one. All right. Uh, yeah. So you can see this. Let me close this. So you can see this shell has been a similar type, right? So I've written BA1 dot, and this is IPYNB, that stands for your Python notebook. Okay, that is a Python notebook you're having. And here that is also an IP and YB, whatever you write. Let's say you write, so this is your IBM sessions 1 to 5 August. Okay, that's good. So IBM data science 1 to 5 August 2020. All right, so you can rename your things, and there you can see here in your that is this kind of IBM data science 1 to 5 August 2020 IBM. That is IPU and YB. All right, this can be done there, right? So this is an edu, this is an 3 IBM series. So let me just update this. All right, so here we'll be starting now to work on with our codes. We'll be starting to, because we have seen the installation paths and all those things. So here the first thing comes up that what is now this all, how to start off these things, right? So we have all learned this. Now the topic comes like how and why to learn this Python. Why to learn? There are several languages other than the Python, then why to learn the Python itself? So guys, again I'm repeating that the Python syntax is very easy to learn, to understand. The lines you write, the lines of codes you write, it's very easy to understand. Okay, so throughout our session what we'll do is we'll be going to learn the Python overview of all the 3 days, and in the rest 2 or 3 days we'll be going to deal with the data science parts, and we'll see some plottings and all those things there at a sum up. And on the fifth day you'll be having your examination. All right, and then you will be giving some exams, and that you will be prepared for that, don't worry, right? And also you'll be getting every day's video on your YouTube, on the YouTube channel, and I will share you the you'll be getting the playlist link where you will be getting every day's video over there. Okay, and then you can practice the sessions. All right, fine. So let's start up with that. So in Python, now you guys are, I think you all are from a programming background, right? So we'll not go in the basics one. We'll start up with the kind of things, right? So see, so first we'll start up. See, here in the first thing is that how to write a heading. Okay, when you come with the notebooks, you need to understand why we are using notebook, why we are not using this IDA and all those things. So we use this notebook to make a better experience in the, or to make a better look, or like notebook. What does notebook exactly does say is that you can make out headings, you can make out this small paragraphs, or you can like write your things there, and then it can be easy to read for anyone out there, right? So that is why we use notebooks. So to make our notes over there, to make some notes of the things we used to study, right? Similarly, we'll be making some notes. So in the notes, what we do, we used to make some portions of the highlighted one. We used to make something else, bold ones, or like italic, underline, and all those things, right? So similarly, we'll be doing here. So if you want to make anything like kind of a bold, or like kind of a heading, so what you do is you'll be clicking over this code section from here, and you'll be clicking on this markdown, not on the heading, because the heading and the markdown are same. So you can be clicking on the markdown area, and then see, now what you have to do is, so getting one by one. Okay, so now what you have to do is you will have to write some hashtags, right? That is like kind of this hashtags. Oh no, one second, like this hashtags. Okay, So if you write to your one hashtags, you guys must be familiar with HTML, right? That one hashtag stands for heading one. The double the double hashtag stands for the heading two, and so does you go up to six hashtags. That all. So six is the last limit of the hashtags. Okay. So that says the heading sizes. If you want to write on a heading, so what format or what size of the heading you want. It is a main heading of the page, then write it as head one. So I'll be writing here, or if it is a less of that, you will be writing H2, and similar to that for H3, right? So I'll be removing these things. I'll be writing this as, okay, I'll be giving it as welcome to Python. Okay, and this is the area where you have giving your in over there. That is an input cell what you can write on. Similarly, you can work with a collab also if you don't have these things. What you can do is you can write a text over here, and you can give this as a heading. You can write this as seems to be very small, and you can run this by using this cell also, and you can also run this by using this shift plus enter. All right, and you can move this shell upward or downward by using this arrow options, and that is easy to do, right? That is easy to do. Here also you can just click this upward, downward, and all these things to make a changes there, right? For copying a cell, you can use this copy, and then for paste, for cutting any cell or deleting anything, you can use this cut. If you want a new cell, you can use this plus. Similarly, in the collab, if you want a new cell, you will be using this code. And if you want a text or like kind of heading things, you can use this text one, right? What other things you can do here? You can also like give a, what is this? You can just reposition the markdown preview here, and meanwhile you can give it as a bold, or you can do it italic, right? So when you run this, you'll be getting some italic positions and all, right? You can format much of that codes and all. So these are the basics ones, right? So now let's start with the coding section, right? So in the basics, we start with having the first of all, that is your keywords, right? So in Python, you have some keywords. You might have learned some languages. Every time you have keywords there. So what are keywords actually? These keywords are nothing but some special names that are already present in Python, and we can use these keywords for specific functionalities while writing a Python program, right? So to get a list of keywords, what you do is you just write on this help and write this keywords. So write help and this keywords, and you will be getting a list of keywords there are in the Python. Okay, that is you are getting one from 1, 2, 3, 4, and some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 9. So 9 is there. So 9, 4, 36 minus 1, 35. Okay. So we have 35 keywords around there you are getting. Okay. So these are the list of keywords. But still, if you want this to be printed with your codes, if you want this to be writing with your codes there, what you do is, right? Every programming language is having some keywords. Okay. So if you want it to be printed there, so let me just give it a heading that these are nothing but the keywords. So what are these keywords? What I say that some special, that is some special reserved names. Present, not available, you can write it. Present in Python. Okay. Now, how to do that? to see all the keywords what you have done. You have just imported the things there. Let me just make it up there. So what you can do is you can just print out this, or you can write this thing as import keyword as kw. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm importing this keyword as kw. And why I'm writing this as kw, because this keyword will be like a lot of taking a time. Instead, if I write kw in place of keyword, it will save my time, right? So I'll be importing this keyword as kw, and then I'll be just printing it. That is print kw dot kw list. So I'm saying that print the keywords kw list, or print the keywords list. So it will give you a list of the keywords. That is again the same things what you're getting here. So if you want it to be printed with the help of a code, so you can write these codes to get it out there. And if you don't want these things, you just write help of keywords and you'll be getting those things, right? Similarly, so these are the keywords, right? We use these keywords to just use some of the functionalities, or we use these things to for specific functionality of a program, right? So you can also check whether a word is a keyword or not. So that can be checked just by writing things that you can just say. You can write that kw is, so kw is keyword, and you can just pass on your anything. Let's say today is Saturday. So let's say kw is keyword, and that is Saturday you are passing on, right? So kw is keyword and Saturday, and you run this thing. So the saying that this is not a keyword, right? But in place, if you pass kw is keyword, and if you write it as true, so that is a keyword you will be getting, right? That is a true, that is a keyword. So you can work with these things and you can get it here. Similarly, you can just write the same things here too. Okay, it's connecting. Connected. So you can see the list of the keywords here, right? Similarly, you can just write here too. And you'll be getting a list of keywords here, and you can see that. So these are the list of keywords you're getting, and you can even check it everything. You can even check this thing whether it's a keyword or not, right? So the same things you can just write on here to work, and even also you can just write on in the notebook sections to work on, right? So those are the same things that not much of for worrying, right? Yeah. So moving ahead, so understood what are the keywords. You are having some special names that will not be using there in the writing of your file names. Okay, so you can use this to in the basic or major functionalities when we use. Next we come to see. Next we come to see that what are comments. Okay, so the next topic we'll be dealing is the comments. Then what are comments? So if we come to define this comments, we say that comments are a block of sentences, or a bunch of some statements, or you can say as a kind of words that you write to make your program readable. Okay, that you write this comments, or you say comments as a block of codes, or which will not be getting executed. Okay, so that you can write this as comment. So what are comment always start with an hashtag as a heading starts, but you will not be writing it as in the when you want to write a comment, you don't need to write in the markdown section. You can write this in the default, that is your code section. You can write on the things here, like uh, let's say that you are writing it as this comment. So when you write anything in a code starting from a hashtag, that will that will never execute, right? So you are saying that I'm writing one line, I'm getting an execution, I'm getting an output. I'm writing line 3, I'm getting an execution line 3. I'm writing line 4, I'm getting the execution, right? So what if I write this and should I expect for the execution? So I can see no execution is there in the comment. No output has been generated with this. Why? Because whenever you write anything, a line or a word or a sentence or a paragraph, whatever you write, so when you write this and you could just put a hashtag in the starting of that line, that hashtag gives this statement or the line to be a comment. Okay, and comment in this Python or any programming language, comments are used just to describe your codes, just to get it familiar about what you have written there, right? And meanwhile you can just use in this Python. What happens, this Python this comments are not executed. So while converting these lines in the machine language or the machine codes, what Python does, Python will not convert these comments into the machine language. So no output will be generated of a machine language. Okay, so no input has been given in the machine language, so thus the output will not be coming. Okay, so this comment is of two different types. That is, one is your single line comment, and other is your multi-line comment. Okay, so what are these single line and multi-line? Let's say I have written one line there, so this is a single line comment. Now let's say that if I'm writing for writing like this, that is three comments at a time, so that is a multi-line comment. So this is your comments stand for, that is you're having some two kind of comments at a time. Okay, now we'll talk about some variables. Now, what are variables in programming language? So we'll say that variables are like nothing but some reserved, uh, just some reserved memory locations to store out some values. Okay, you will say that variables are nothing but some of the reserved memory location which will having some values, right? So what do you say? What is a variable, right? You assign some characters and you assign some of the values to this, and you say that this x is a variable as and this containing the value 4567. All right. So that is a variable, and you can even see in which location it has been just written out, that is id of x. So it says that this is a variable, that is x, having a value of 4567, and this id of x will define that what is the memory location of this x. So if I say id of x is the memory location of this x. So in this address, this x is been located. All right. Similarly, you can have variables. You can assign variables of various kinds. So while assigning the variables, you can assign it by just like a single line. You can assign like x equals 2, give a semicolon there, y equals 5. You can even assign z equals 3, and then you can just enter and write u equals 4, anything. You can even assign it as a kind of a single line, multiple assignments at a time. Let's say x, let's say capital X and capital Y, and sorry, this. And you can assign 10 oblique 15 there, right? So these are the assignments, guys. Okay, so what you do is, 1 minute. 1 minute, hold on. So I was saying that you can assign the multiple values to the variables like this. When you run this, and what you have done that is x equals to 2, y equals to 5. You can have this process. You can even have this variable assignment like for one, write one, then write the next. And even you can just write x and y and then you can assign the values at a time, right? So if I just print on all the values, if I just say that I want the x, I want the y, I want the Z, I want the U, I want the capital X and the capital Y. So I'll be getting the values that is 2, 5, 3, 4, 10 and 15. So every thing would be having an individual kind of ID, right? You know, every thing would be having an individual ID of all those. So if you just pass on this ID of, let's say, X, ID of Y, this showing two values to you. Meanwhile, you can say this is how it is a case sensitive. You can see, right? So taking ID of x and y and the capital X and the capital Y. So you can just find out that the IDs are totally different there, right? So there you can see the ID of their locations or their address of their are same and not sorry different. Alright. So these are the things, right? So that are called as variables. So that is just used for just having a storage, you can say, like a storage, like you need, right? You need memory card, you need some hard disk to store some values. It's a very similar way, when you are working in the programming language, you need some variables to store off your values. Okay, that is called as your variables, right? So the next section we'll be learning about how to like what are the data types in the Python we have. Okay. What are the data kinds of Python, data types of Python. So in Python, guys, there we have some data types. That is your uh, numeric sections, that is your list, that is your tuples. So there is your new numbers, there are your data types as list, as tuples, as string, set, dictionary. So we'll be covering all those things, right? In some 2 days, we'll be covering all those things, right? So see, when you come to when you just like come to understand uh, what are these numbers. So numbers in Python are of four different kinds, right? There are four different kind of numbers in Python. It is you can say on there is your four types are the, let me write one by one. One is an integer which can have values as 1, 2, 3, 0, minus 45, a, and like that values. But one thing you see there is common, that there are no decimal values. Alright. So if you don't have any decimal values in a number, that is an integer. So when you have your decimal values in an integer, when you have a decimal values between any numbers, that is termed to be a floating number, right? Or you can tell this as a float. Similarly, you might have learned about the complex numbers in class 11th, right? So complex numbers are nothing but a combination of numbers with some real part and some of the imaginary parts. So there you get some real parts, like let's say x, zx plus, let's say ix plus ij, right? Or 2 minus 3j, or 0.5j, and like that. And the fourth will study about the random numbers, and that we cannot predict on, right? These are the four type of numbers we'll be starting on: integer, float, complex, and int. So what I said, in case of an integer, what I said that these are numbers without decimal values. Alright, so these are numbers without decimal values. You don't need to write all these things, you only need to focus on the coding area. So that is why I prefer notebook, because we can make some notes over there that you can study on it. So integers are the numbers without some decimal values or the fractional values. So let's say this is x, y, and z, and I can assign this as 0, minus 3, and 2. Okay, so these are the x, y, and z, and along with that you can just print on this x, y, and z. And even if you can just print on x the kind, or the, you can say the type of, so you can just on the type of x, you can print on the type of y, you can print on the type of z. Okay, so this type will give you what class or of what type of what kind of a data type this is, whether it's a kind of an integer, float, or numbers, and complex, and anything. So I'm printing x, y, and z, and we'll get it to this understanding of this all thing, right? So when you print this, we'll see that the x, y, z values are 0, minus 3, and 2. This x is a kind of an integer class, y is a kind of an integer, and z is also an integer. So what happens in the case of a float? So if we try to understand the case of a float, so we define float as that these are numbers with the decimal values. Understood? So these are numbers having some decimal values with them, right? So you can again assign this A, B, and C, and let's say this is as okay. So this is 2 point, this is minus 4 point, and this can be minus 0.3, right? So meanwhile you can just print it out again. You can just print the type of all this. Okay, so you can print ABC and their types too to find out the things. So you can see that's 2 point is nothing but 2.0, then 4 minus 4.5, and 0.3, and then you have float. Right? Similarly, you have your complex. So complex, you can say that these are the combination of real and imaginary part, right? So let's say that there you have C and V. You're saying 0J, and you're saying, or let's say you're saying 2J, and you're saying 0.5 minus 4J, right? So you have saying C and V, assign C and V as this. Now only if you check the type of C and the type of V, you will be getting as sorry, one second. So there is V. So you will be getting a type of this as complex. Alright, that's cool. Now to see on the C and V, you will be getting out there, you'll be getting it as okay. To C on the C and V, you'll be getting the results as 2J and 0.5 minus 4J, right? Now this complex, as I say, the combination of a real part and imaginary part. So what are the real parts? So for finding a real part of any complex number, you will be writing on C dot real, or let's say V dot real. Let's see one by one. So this is the imaginary part and this is the real part, and you will be getting that the real part is 0, 0.0 and the imaginary part is 2.0. That states as your C is 2j, right? So you are having no real numbers, that is 0, 0.0, no real numbers, and this is j, that is an imaginary part, and your before j you have 2, so that is 2.0 imaginary. Similarly, if you just write down for the imaginary numbers of v dot imaginary and v dot real, so that will give you minus 4.0 and 0.5. That is, real part here is 0.5, that is 0.5, and imaginary here is minus 4, that is minus 4.0. Understood? So these are the things you can just write on those and can well work with this thing, right? Next we come up to understand the random function, right? This random numbers. So what are these randoms, right? So how we define this random functions? How to, so for this getting this random for getting a random number, you will have to import the random module, So you will be importing it like import this random. Okay. So once you import this, you run this there, and this will be imported right there, right? And for the next, what you have to do is now you have to select some of the numbers, right? So if you say that a random of 20, module is not callable, that's right. So let's say a random of so I'm writing a random of dot randint of 20. So that says that I want random numbers till 20, till 0 to 20. Since I haven't gave any range over there, I have only written 20. So that says that I will be getting a random number, or random number, just a one number, right? So I'll be getting a random numbers between 0 to 19. Not why not 20? Because when you write a range, you will be getting at least one number less than the last value what you write there. Okay, so you're getting one number less than whatever you write. So similarly, right, let's say that so let's just say that you are importing something and you are just want some numbers from 0 to 19. So you run this and you'll be getting some of the numbers there. So when you run this, you will get some positional splitting. All right. So let's write it from. So what you get is that number between 0 to 20, and every time you will be getting some new numbers, right? So it will not be like you will be getting a same number or every time just one same particular thing. So whenever you run, you will be getting some 0 to 20 numbers, and every time a new number will be coming up. So so you can just give a kind of, you can just have a quick knowledge of that you can use these things in many sectors, right? So there we learn that. So I'll be giving you a hint over there that in which sectors mostly you can use these things, right? So you can use this in many times when you see your kind of things in your phone, and when you see when you reset your passwords and all those things. So you see some OTP coming in your phones there, right? So you can use this in an OTP. You can generate a
Somewhere? Hello.
yes.
Yeah, Arijit here. Actually, I want to ask you that random number that code you asking for random numbers. Are we getting the random numbers from the normal distribution or some other distributions?
No. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So distributions is based on, right. It automatically makes any. There is no such common things, or there is no such linear distribution over there. That is coming at just a kind of a random. Any number could come there. Okay. There is no
Oh,
any distribution. For distribution, we have learned in that course, right, in the AIML, how to
yeah,
apply
yeah, yeah.
the lin space. There you get the actual distribution.
Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah. So for an unwanted and like for a unusual distribution, what you can do is you listen this, run on this, and you can get any a random integer between this. So there will be no such pattern in coming out the numbers. Okay.
Okay, okay, right, right. Thanks.
Right. So what I was saying, that you can use this to find out the OTPs and all this. So how it is that for a random, let's say you want some random and you have written a random integer, and you want a random integer of, let's say, how the OTP you get in your phones, you guys. Let's take some of the values. Oh, it's our same visa. Let's take it to be 354. Let's make it this 786 and 6 there. Okay. So let's show this in the X, and that will be a random integer. And what you print is actually, right. So what you get is this in your mobile phones. When you run this, you will be getting an OTP over there. That is a 64794. Every time when you run this, you will be getting a new one there. And there's a very basic knowledge behind this. That is nothing but the random number, and then you have added on these things to print. I'll be discussing what is this STR and what is this I've done here. Yeah, so only focus on this part, that this random will working as a random number you'll be getting from any kind, that is from 0 to 20. Oh wow, you are getting zeros too. So this happens a very less time. So you can get the numbers from 0 to 19. Why? Because this the last range what you write, you will be always getting minus one of that. If you write 30, you will be getting 29. For 20, you will be getting 19, and so on. You will be getting, right. So these are the values. Now we'll getting ahead to the next topic, that is your strings in your Python, right? So before going to string, I'll be discussing about the typecasting, or let's discuss the string first, then we'll go to typecasting. So a string in Python, you can define it as any characters under single, that is your double. So any characters you write with a single or a double quotes, anything you write between them will be termed as a string. All right. If you write anything inside a single, let's say we have written here in the whole notebook, we have only used one time, I think. No, for the second time also we have used this. We have used this. The first line we have used this. So anything you write inside of in a kind of a single or a double, you can say quotes, that is termed to be as a string. All right. So a string can be assigned at x and y. Let's say I can write this as a string. I can write this as a string. Alright. So this x and y will have the same things. If you print this x and y, these are having the same things. So there is no such major difference when you write these things in this one single quote or a double single quote. There is no such of the difference between them. So you can write on any of it. Okay. So there are some of the things which should be focused on the string. So we'll go in detail further. But before that, we'll go to try to understand that what are the things, what are the kind of you can say type conversions I was talking about. So let's say about the type conversions. So type conversions are nothing but you just change the data types of anything, right? Suppose you just want to see an str. Let's just say that you want to print this x and y, and also you want to see the str of x. Sorry, not str, the type of x. So you will come to see that this x and y are strings, and the type of x or y, whatever you write, is str. So what you found there, that when you just run on these things, when you write this integer, the type you will be getting as an int. For float, you will be getting a class or your type of that is as float, float. The complex, you have the type as complex, and for the random one, random is basically random. You can just check on this fine, and you can just run this type of x here, and you can get it. That is an integer. This is an integer, type of integer, but it is a module of that x there, right? That is having an x there. It is none because nothing has been stored here. All right. So yeah, and the string says the str category, right? Now we can convert this one to one, and I can change on the data type. Let's say I want to change anything from a float to integer. So from float to integer, let's say you are having a float number, let's say 100.5, and you want integer of this. So you will just pass integer, and you will print it. That is integer of 100.5. You just pass on the values, integer of 100.5, and run this, and we will be getting an integer value. So what is an integer? This is not having a decimal values, any decimal values. So it will remove the decimal values there. That's all, and only the 100 is left. All right, that's it. So suppose you want a integer to float. So you'll be just writing a float there, and then you can pass on your values. Suppose this is an integer, and I want a float of this. Float is will having any decimal values. Without decimal values, the float will not be there. So you run this, and you'll be getting a float value. Right. So there is nothing after 125. So you're getting only 0.0. Similarly, you can change this integer or float to complex. Let's say you want a complex of 5. So it's 5.0j. So you have written only this 5, that is the real part, and you haven't written any of the imaginary part, so it's 0j over there. Okay. Similarly, you can write on the complex of float number, let's say 0.5, and you can run this on the complex, and you can say that this is coming as 0.5 plus 0j. That is 0.5 will be our real number, and this 0 again you haven't written any of the things, so this is 0.0j over there. Alright. And you can just find on the real and the imaginary part of this 0.5, and then you can see on it, right? So that is of all about the complex and all this. Similarly, you can change these things to an string to all the things, right? Once again. Okay. So yes, where was I? The complex type. Right. Yeah. So you can convert these things to from a string to, like, let's say you want an integer to a string. You want an integer, you want a complex, you want an float to strings. So in that case, you just pass on the things. Let's say I want integer, sorry, I want a string. So string will be an str. So integer str of 12 or str of 45.2 or str of, so these are the strings. Everything will be written under the quotes, right? That specifies particularly our string. So you'll be getting those things there, right? So that is strings, and that is right kind of data you have. Okay. So this was the numbers what you're having in the Python, and till now any problems here, whatever the types you have read, because now we'll be going to the data types in depth. So we have read about the numbers, we have read about the strings. So see one by one what we studied till now. We saw the keywords, what are the keywords, what are comments, what are variables. We saw what are numbers in Python. So we have integer, float, we saw complex, we saw the random numbers, we saw the Python strings, what are strings. We can see how to convert this float to integer, integer float, complex, and all those things. So any problems till now to anyone there, you can write this your yes or no there in the chat box. Any problems there? So no problem. No one is having problem. That's good. Okay. So now we'll be learning on. Now we'll be going to learn about the string methods, right? So what are the methods in a string? What are the kind? What the operations? These things are, right? So the very first thing. Let me write as. So the very first thing is that how to count or how to check on the number of elements in your string. So just let's say that, let's just say that this is a string. So I am saying that in the world of IT sectors, just say that this artificial or let's just say in the world of artificial intelligence or in the world of AI, ML is the subset of AI. Alright. Later then I'm going to say that machine learning is the subset of artificial intelligence. And so does there is one more term called as deep learning. So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence in the world of artificial intelligence. Okay. Now this is my string. If I see on the type of your AI, so I'll be getting this as a string there. That is an str. Now how many occurrence of letters or how many things are there in my AI? To count on that, we'll find out the length of AI. So the strings have 23 characters are there, including the spaces. Alright, so including the spaces, we have some 23 characters. Now let's say that I am having a string which is having some spaces with it. You can see, right, the string, the starting and the ending points are having some spaces with this. So I just want to see that how could I remove these spaces, how could I get the actual value. Okay, I want to see the actual value. When you run this, what you'll see that you are getting a print with the spaces, right? You're getting the print with the spaces. So I want to print only like I want this only as a kind of spaces with it. Okay, I want the printing. I want my expected printing as this in place of this. So to remove this spaces from the beginning and end of your string, what you do, you have a method called as strip. So you apply a method that is an strip function there. Okay, that will remove the spaces and you will be getting the output as this. So see, your input was this, you just applied dot strip after this and you got output exactly the same as this. Understood? So for removing the spaces from your starting and the ending of your strings, you will be applying this. That is a dot strip method. Let me write it as. So that is a strip method. Alright. Similarly, you can get to the next method for count. So this count, what will do, it will just count the number of times a character is being repeated or you can say printed on a string. Okay, that's how we can write it. Let's say I want to count the occurrence of t in the I want to find the occurrence of t in this string. Okay, so this is a string and I want to find the occurrence of t in there. So what I'll do is after the writing of the string, I'll just print count t. Count t. That's all. So it says that you have 7t there. That is, you can find these things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that you can count it very easily. Similarly, there is a function called as index. So what index does is that will be giving you the index value of the number of the particular string. So what are the index values? Index values are the values or the numbers. What you will be getting there is the positional numbers of where the strings are or where the characters are being located. That is right. Okay. So if I just find the index value of any particular string, let's say let's say I want to find the index value of v. So that says that it's in the fifth position. So in this string, I want to find the index value of v. It says that in the fifth position. So in Python, indexing starts from 0. That is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4th, and you can see this fifth v in the fifth position. Again, I'll saying that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this v in the fifth position. That is an index values. Alright. So those are called as your index. Similarly, you can just pass on things to check the extensions or check the uh, domains or a lot of things you can check on with the use of split function. So what this split does, this will split your string as per the given defined operation, right? Let's say I'm taking uh, random book that is in the PDF format, and I want to see what is the format of this uh, book, what the user is uploading there. So there I will split this with the dot. Okay, so I want to split. How will I check the extension? That is, the extension is always in the last, so I need to check the index, the extension there. So I want to check the PDF whether it is a PDF or not. So only I will allow the user if he is doing the PDF versions. So I'll writing it that this is PDF over there, right? So when I'll split this, I'll be splitting it with the dot, so that this gets differentiated, and I can see that this is the book and this is the PDF, and then I can check that whether this is using as a PDF or not. So this has been split in two terms, you can see, right? So I have splitted this book PDF string with this dot. So book has been one side and this PDF in the other side, and you can see this, right? Okay. So you can just write on, or you can just split a lot of things there. Right? Before working here in the splitting, let me tell you something more. One thing I have skipped on. So there is a term, the input statement, where you start taking input from the user. Okay. So you just write it as a name equals to input, and then you just pass on things. One minute. Pass on your that. Okay. Alright. So yeah. So for an input function, what you do, you just assign a variable where you will be storing the input of the user. You just write input and then enter anything for the username. Let's say I want user enter name. So that will give a dialog box to the user, just like in a prompt to a user to just print, just write on his name there. So let me there. Okay, so, and then you can just check on the name. What is the system there? What is existing in there? You can see right there that the name is there. Even if you can take your input in some different method, like for the integer and right, because when you want to just take the values as when you want to just take the values as a kind of, let's say you want to take values in uh, integer or float, right? So if you just check that type also, so you'll be seeing that always this input by default takes this thing in the string. Now if you want to take the input in the uh, so if you want to take these things in kind of, let's say if you want to take this in float or in the complex or in the let's say integer, so what you will do is you will be changing the values of the input or changing the type of how you write these things. So let's say you are taking the marks, and now marks should always be in a float value, right? That should be always in decimals, so that the percentage should not decrease by the user. If the user has got, let's say, 78.9%, 87.9%, and you are taking input in integer, so what will happen? The 0.9% will be went up, right? So that will be a like you can say drawback for the students, right? So what you can do is let the students write anything. You can just take on integer. So you guys try to understand what I'm doing is I'm taking an marks entry from the user, and that I'm taking in the integer. All right. So let the user gives anything in the integer, or let's say you can take these things in the float values. Okay, don't take it as integer. Let's remove this. So let's say he's giving a marks. Let it be, even if he give an integer value while converting that in the float itself, right? So let's say I got 87. So I just run this code. If I just see what is the value of this, if I just check on this marks and the type of the marks, I'll come to see that this is a float, and that too having a value of 87.0. Understood? So these are the things I was saying, that always try to make some valid inputs. What if I would have taken an integer? So 87 would have been 87. That's of no worry. But what if I write as 98.3 or 2? Let's say user has got 99.9. That is 99. Let's say. So what if I would have taken it in the float integer value? So enter marks, and now I'm taking it that integer. Let's say 99.99. He has got, sorry. So what it says, that you are taking in an integer and you are providing a float value to them. That is not a valid function, right? That is not a valid function. So that is a problem. You can convert this as a kind of a float, but that will be a problem. Let's see. You can run this. You can take it as 99.99, but again it will have a problem because you are taking an input right in the float values. So that is not a good one. You should always take this as a kind of a float. That will be good. Right, understood. So these are the things to be focused on, right? Similarly, let's take the input from the user, and we can just check out any of the things as per your requirements. All right, you can split on the things, you can strip off the things, and you can just do with a lot of methods in the string to focus on. Now let's say that you want to just to convert anything in the let's say you want to convert any cases. Let's say a user is giving his name, and many a times what happens, okay, we are dealing with the lower, upper. Now we'll be learning the lower and upper. So let's say many a times what happens, a user is giving name, and you want to store this in the uh, format of an lowercase, right? So let's just say he's giving his name in the capital letters. So if you were just print on your name, that will just make your task a bit difficult. That is making on the lower by manually doing. So what you do is you just apply the lower here. So automatically the inputs will be taken in the lower, even if the user write in the capital case. So when you check your name, now this times these will be in lower automatically. If you want those things to be in capital, let's say he's writing some things that should be in capital, right? That he's writing, let's say he's writing an SPI, or let's say he's writing an bank IFSC code. So IFSC is always in the capital, right? It's not like, so let's say input. Let's say the user was in a rush and he entered the IFSC as, so let's say first don't apply anything. He entered the IFSC. Let's say this is he just entered it like this, right? So what is my IFSC if I check on? So it would be kind of like this. So this is not a valid IFSC number, right? So what you have to do is you want that this N and this all should be in capital. So what you can do is you can apply a upper method to this, and you can run on this. Then you can just write whatever you want. So check on your IFSC and you can get this. Now this is a valid IFSC code. That is, you can try on various applications to work on this very limited steps of the strings to got it. So next up we'll see to understand how we can this convert anything. So like the lower converts things to the lower case, right? Upper to an upper case. Like there is a swap case. There is a term called as swap case, which will just swapping the cases, which will be making lower as a upper, the upper as a lower. So what they can do there is that there, let's say, they can user input. Okay, so let's take it as enter name, and I'll be applying the swap cases. You can see what's the difference. So let's say I'm writing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So I have written something in some of the cases. Let's make it as like, so I have written some codes over there, right? I have written some of the codes and I want this to be capital or small, anything kind of. So just hit on the enter and see what the user has given to you. So you can find that as this is your code of the user, what has given to you. It's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. And you can see the swap cases. I have written this in the caps, lower cases are becoming the capital ones. Right? So like this, you get a random, this numbers of the, just get a code here, like a 16-digit code, or when you purchase anything from this, right, you just get a random digits there, you just get a random value from among them. Okay, that is called as a, you get like this, you get a random some numbers over there, right? So that is also a use of your strings there. That is also used with this random modules. Okay, so similarly there is something called as find. All right, so what find will help you, find will help you in the solving out the things, and like for finding the index value of the statements, like similar to the index one. So let's say this is a method called as eldorado, right? And I want to find, might have heard this name, find O. So this says this O to be in the third place. That is your 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, this O is also in the last one. Okay, but still it only says about the first. So this is the problem of find. So you'll be getting, and in the examination you'll be getting this question. Okay, so there you would be asked as find the or. So OR will also give 3 because it will only find the index value of the first digit, not of the second. Okay, whatever you write there, it will find the index number of the first. If you have written as row, and then you will be getting the R as the -1. Okay. Understood? So that you could be getting it like that. Right? So that is a problem. So this states that this O will be in the -1. That is from here. What it says that this O to be and the -1. So it started reading from this 0. Why? Because see, whatever the occurrence is coming first in the A to Z, R come first or O come first. O come first, right? So it will find the occurrence of the first digit what is coming in the alphabets. So it is finding the occurrence of O. So for occurrence of O, it is saying to be as a -1, that is occurring in the -1 there. So if it is in the first, so if you're writing in the last, it will be finding the O from the last. If you're writing it in the previous one, it will be finding it from the left hand side. If you're writing here, it will be starting from here. If you're writing there, it will be starting from here. So according to the occurrence of the digits you are writing, let's say you are writing E there, so it will say -1 from there. That is, it will going from the here. That is an occurrence of okay. If you say it's an kind of EO, then you will be finding there is somewhere else there. So this is saying correct. This is saying correct. This is saying correct. Alright. So what happens if something is not in kind of unfoundable, right? If it doesn't find anything, it will just return you -1 there. Okay. So E is in the place of 0. So that is your find method. If you write as find, and then you check on for, let's say you are finding for L. So that will be -1 because you haven't find anything regarding the L. If you find it as F, that would be 0. IF, that would be -1. N, 2, D, 3. Sometimes if find also, it will give you from the -1 if it works in the -1. Okay, that is the difference. Okay, so there are a lot of methods here. Even if you can apply a method called as format. Okay, so with the format, you can just pass on the braces in your string, and then you can just write on the values there. So I'll show up to you. Okay, so let's say you have written the impact of COVID is very high in that. And let's say you have written city alright. So you have written the impact of COVID is very high in some braces. So you need to format that braces. You need to format that braces, and you need to write the value, that is city. You need to write the value of city in place of this braces. So it will print that the Mumbai is not, sorry. So it will say that the impact of COVID is very high in Mumbai. Alright, this is the statement. Mumbai was not declared because this is a string and you should always write in there, right? So while storing a string value, you should always write it like under quotes. So the impact of COVID is very high in the Mumbai, and I think you would have understood it like that. Okay, let's say this X and Y to be a value 23, 6.8, right? Now let's say, guys, I just want to print this X equals as, let's say, X equals %D. So many a times this students have confusion regarding it. So this %D will be having nothing but the value of X. So this is %D equals to X equals to %D, and let's give is %X. So there %D states that it is a kind of an integer. So this will say X equals to 23. Let's say that in the same statement, if you would have written it as a kind of F, then you will be getting a float value of X, that is 23.0000, and so on, right? Let's say that if you have written this as kind of S, you will be getting a string value of that. So that is right. So similarly, let's say that you are writing this for Y. You will be getting 56.8, right? But what if you write as for D? You will be getting 56. And what if you even write it for F? you will get it as 56.800. So what you do understand that whenever you write for f, you will be getting some long values. You will writing for s, you will be getting the exactly value as this, and for these kind of x, you will be getting the integer values, right? So you can also print it like print x is equals to, then put a comma over there and write x. You can get that x is equals to 23. You can also write it as print write y is equals to 1, put a comma there and write y. So you're getting like that, right? Depends. You can print it on x, y to be str of y. So it will say an str, right? So there are similar terms to just focus on to write to bring out the values there. So we come to an end with the string one today, and let me stop your videos.